After a certain age, there comes a scratchy, restless craving to be elsewhere, to escape either the room we're in or to escape the mind that sees the same room everywhere it goes. Philosophy and spirituality have tried to understand the stabbing urge to escape. Some wrote about it in brutally simple narratives. Some applied mystical rituals to the difficult truths. Many were trying to find a pearl formed in the shell of meaninglessness. Buddhism diagnosed life as suffering with attachment, aversion, and ignorance. Whether atheist or believer, eventually, we all learn what life is really about, and after that we can mourn, cope, and go on surviving, where we desire escape by any means available. Escapism has many looks. It doesn't have to be as obvious as drugs or alcoholism. Many don't realize they're escaping themselves through an obsession with others' differences, escaping their failings by obsessing with others' failings. Or it could be an obsession through gossip or through righteous anger. Of course, escaping isn't always bad. In some circumstances, it may be needed for survival. And maybe it isn't necessary, and that's okay too. But what happens when the escapism stops working? Or when the circumstances change and we want to find a new path? What happens when it becomes uncontrollable? What if our way of escaping is hurting others? Can we still change at this point? Is it even worth it to change? We probably weren't raised to cope with suffering effectively. Who could be so lucky? There were no classes in our youth that explained with sensitivity that life's exhaustion, unfairness, randomness, and impermanence were all inescapable. After learning this, we could choose to open our hearts toward other suffering humans and animals, with our overachieving ambitions humbled by the lonely fate all face, and we may even learn some are suffering additionally, being further excluded, and then being shamed for their legitimate escapism. We could choose to love, but a lot of us desperately turn to our attachments, our aversion, our ignorance, our unending nourishment, unending distractions, the urgent need to be numb. It can be hard to sit quietly in a room without something to obscure the truth. That obscurity can't save us. That a quiet afternoon is a huge privilege many can't afford, that there's really nothing to attach to, that there really is no room. But there is beauty we shouldn't want to escape. Some spiritual or recovery retreats are located where nature feels undisturbed, where the sadness we normally avoid can meet the emphasis of wildflowers, where a strawberry or lotus cookies can seem worthy of admiration. An acute awareness can inspire us to love intensely while we still have time to love. Our incompleteness finds an echo in nature that is somehow affirming. We become in harmony with impermanence, but there's no fear. We begin to notice that our experience of life was the pearl all along. It's the knowledge of loss that makes what we have now so valuable. Out in nature, we can find a pause from the businesses competing loudly for our attention, away from the emails pretending to be our friends just so we'll purchase something. A mountainside retreat isn't mandatory to become attuned with our shared limited time, but what retreats do have going for them is how they help people connect. The waterfall, the rainbow, a full moon, a shy deer. All of it begins to feel like family to us. It's not about where or how, but whose arms can I throw myself into when suffering tempts me? Who around me is actually on my side when all my safety nets start deteriorating? Who knows me genuinely and still accepts me? It's not about the spiritual possessions you can afford. We escape the pains of self by being with one another, by loving the other. We need others, and others need us too. A community is the blooming aftermath of awareness, empathy, and outreach. Suffering can't be avoided, but we can avoid the separation. Any disappointment or fear can be endured by the right supportive environment, which is always a loving community. When we vulnerably connect, it's the best escape we have, as if we are escaping together.